What's good, peeps? Thank you all for passing by the channel as always. Once again, look, this is a video dedicated to Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez. I promise, I do promise, it is that kind of video. But it'll be stupid if we don't kick things off talking about what has been a crazy 24 hours in the world of boxing. Honestly, crazy. Like, I've been watching the sport for 25 years. I've been covering it for about 4 or 5 years, and I ain't seen anything like this. This for me is a bit mental. I can't talk about it by myself. That's why I bring in a couple of heavy hitters. We got Raps and we got G-Man. Guys, I appreciate you guys coming on. Hit that. Look, guys, subscribe to their channel, please. I mean, I'll put both of their links in the description. Both of them do some really good stuff. Raps does his shit. You know, guys, G-Man, Mr. Rip Jeans, Be Safe t-shirts. Both honestly do their stuff. Both have completely different styles as well. So if you like your boxing, which I'm sure you do if you're watching this channel, and you want to support other channels, it isn't just about the big number guys, right? These smaller channels know their shit as well. I think we get fixated with following guys that have 100,000 subscribers. Stop it. Like, honestly, be following people, support the game. Raps, I'm going to start with you.
All right.
Like, what the fuck has happened in the last 24 hours, bro? Like, let's not beat around the bush. What the fuck has happened?
Well, I think we've all been done in one way or another, right? It's fair to say. I was at the beginning slightly skeptical, but then I was behind this fight. You know, I've come into your platform, Addy. We've spoke. I thought this fight was happening. I totally ignored Wilder's, whether you want to call it stubbornness, but really his right to defend his belt. I underestimated that, if I'm being fair. And I just felt, you know, being part of this wave of we're going to get undisputed heavyweight 2 British fighters, I was behind it. Yeah, I was behind it. So, bro, I'm a little bit disappointed. At the same time, I guess now the dust has settled, I'm saying to myself, this time last year, Fury had always said he needs to take care of Wilder, then he's going to face Joshua. So we're, I guess, in the same position, frustratingly, but at least we have a clear plan, I think. But yeah, disappointed and angry.
It's funny because, yeah, we might be in the same position in the sense that, okay, Fury take care of Wilder and Joshua, and it will be Usyk take care of Usyk. But seeing the way Joshua's tweeted in the last sort of 30, 40 minutes, guys, I'm filming this at just gone 9 o'clock. And the way Tyson Fury's responded, I think it's going to be difficult to make a fight between these two again. It seems like bridges have been burnt. Eddie Hearn seems to be furious with Bob Arum. They don't have a good relationship anyway. And I almost feel like everyone's somehow closed their eyes to make this fight happen. And I feel like bridges have been burnt. Saudi are obviously going to be very upset. They've put together 150 million for this fight. Obviously, it helps for them with tourism, etc., etc. So I don't know, G-Man. I just feel like sometimes you got to strike while the iron's hot, or you list your opportunity. And I somehow feel like we might not get this opportunity again. And maybe that's just me sort of crying crocodile tears. I don't know. I just kind of feel like we might have missed it.
I don't think we've missed it, but sure, I've seen the tweets as well, but they are not happy. Like Team AJ, they are not happy at all. Eddie Hearn, I think like Tyson Fury alluded to the fact that AJ knew about it, but I doubt they knew in depth. I'd say Bob Arum was probably telling them, "Oh yeah, it'll be fine, it'll be fine." And they kind of went along with it, because if Eddie Hearn, I'm just looking at him, I'm thinking if he knew there was ever a doubt that this wouldn't happen, he wouldn't be so, you know, confident in going on camera like, "Yeah, we're getting this fight next," and kind of he made all of us believe, because we all kind of thought like, "Yeah, it's going to happen next." I hope bridges aren't burnt. I think both guys get through their respective fights. I think they'll take a look. Probably they're angry now, but they'll probably look at the fight and just think, do you know what? It's such a big fight for undisputed, for the money. And I think they might use that as kind of fire for both guys. Like AJ might be like, I want to teach this Fury a lesson for, you know, fucking me around. And maybe Fury the same, you know, I want to just teach this AJ guy a lesson for what he said on Twitter. So I think it might just add a bit more fuel to it. Could be PR. Never know.
Yeah, no, you're right. It could be, man. And I guess, look, I'm still upset, as you can probably tell by it. But in the end, I mean, the excuses were already kind of built in for Fury if he lost, that, okay, you've not had a fight for a year and a half. If they do fight, say December, at least Fury would have had a fight in July, August. So that kind of rust, which a lot of people were saying Fury might have, that's done. And like what you say, money talks, right? It's going to be, if they both can come through Usyk and Wilder, then the pot gets even bigger. The anticipation gets bigger. And to be fair to Bob Arum and even Frank Warren, they kept on saying, Eddie, why are you talking? I remember them saying, I remember Bob saying, like, almost like, shut up, Eddie. Like they knew something was going on. Like, why is Eddie saying the fight's done when I think things were going on behind the scenes? I kind of felt like they knew it. They didn't want to tell us what it was, but Eddie must have known there was a possibility this could happen. Like there are smart, rich, like people behind the scenes, lawyers, like people that have been in the promotional game for 60, 70 years. If you're talking Bob Arum, surely Raps, they should have hold fire on getting us excited about this.
Yeah. I mean, great points as well in terms of the Arum and Warren's position. I do think, however, though, they were slightly misinforming us, because I think they should have been open and said, look, this fight, we're having negotiations. However, we need to solve this arbitration then. And that still would have been at the front of people's minds.
Yeah.
Because even if you look at the reaction from sort of Monday, it was like, what's this? Chris McKenna, you spoke to him today, he done a great job breaking his story. And it was like a shock to a lot of the boxing community. And I feel if Arum and Warren had just said that once or twice, listen, we need to get through that. We need to get through this arbitration. That would have maybe made us say, actually, Hearn, why are you speaking so much?
Yeah.
I will say this, and just to G-Man's point, there's a slight twist in it in this. I still think it works in Hearn's favor. Yes, he was a bit too quick to kind of sprout off. But in the last few weeks, he's been seen to be that positive person trying to make this fight happen. The Matchroom AJ side, whilst AJ's not speaking, they've been a bit more positive. And you could argue that it would always benefit him should this fight not happen, because one, everyone's going to say, well, why didn't Fury convince us? Why didn't he say to us, this is in the background? Do you know what I mean? And I feel like could have he can get a positive spin out of this. If he wants to get the booing, he wants to stop the booing in the stadium. It was a good way of doing it. I do think they tried their best, though. You look at the guys they deal with in Saudi, you won't mess around with those people. So I do think Hearn was sort of positively trying to make this fight. I feel Arum and Fury have let us down. I don't think Warren knows much about it. Has Warren spoken to Fury yet?
Who knows, right? Warren seems to be the guy on the outside looking in all of this, if I'm honest with you. Yeah. The funny thing is, and we're going to move on from this because I know people want to, hear about Ramirez and Josh Taylor. I promise it's coming, guys. The funny thing is, Usyk Joshua's a good fight. In any other world, that's a big, big fight. It's such a come down from AJ Fury. Do you know what I mean? It's just a big come down. But Usyk AJ is a big fight, right? I mean, Usyk's this unbeaten cruiserweight that's gone up and everyone's raving about. I personally think AJ deals with him. I wasn't super impressed again with him versus Chisora. I feel like AJ right now is on a mission. He looks angry. He's motivated. I did see him last week. This guy's ready for war. So I think AJ gets past him, but it's a big fight. It's just not what we wanted at all, G.
No, it's to come from thinking we're getting Fury next to Usyk. I mean, like, if this whole situation never happened, we'd be looking at this thinking, oh, hell yeah, we've got a great fight, AJ Usyk. I still think it's a competitive fight. I just, knowing heavyweight boxing I do, and this is what I've seen so many people say, is that both guys aren't getting through one of these fights. One of them, knowing boxing the way we do, one of these guys will slip up. Might be AJ, might be Fury. And you just wonder. I think AJ will get through him as well. I don't think it'd be straightforward. I think he'll have moments in there where he looks, a bit off and he might even get rocked. But you just worry, like, this fight, we can kind of, it's up in the air now. If both guys get through their fight, you might see a finish line, and then Wilder lands a right hand, or Usyk, schools AJ for 12 rounds. Something like that could happen, because that's just the way boxing is. When we were right there, something happens.
How crazy it is? I will say this, Raps. How crazy it is? If Wilder does land a right hand, which, hey, could happen, I don't mind seeing Wilder Joshua. I'll be blatantly honest with you, that we were supposed to get that nearly 2 years ago. I don't actually mind Wilder Joshua. And, with the American market getting involved, Wilder Joshua financially might be bigger than Joshua Fury. It just might be, right? Because you bring in all the American market, because I don't know how involved or how excited the American market were about AJ Fury. Obviously, we, the Europeans and African market, were crazy about it. I don't know if the American market were as crazy. Yeah. If Wilder flattens Fury and then it's Wilder AJ, then it's as big as a fight anyway. So look, if I'm AJ, just focus on getting past Usyk, and either way, the next fight should be astronomically big. It should be huge.
Yeah. Can I just ask a quick one to both of you? Where's the bigger upset? If we were to get an upset in either of those fights, Wilder Fury, Joshua Usyk, where do you think the upset is more likely to come from?
It's a good question, man.
I would honestly say just looking at both guys, I would say Usyk. I just don't think Wilder mentally is recovered, and I think Wilder relies on time, and the longer he's out of the ring, the more that time it's going to be affected. So I think that if I had to pick an upset, it would be Usyk. I think because Usyk is fresher, he's been active, and his style can cause any heavyweight problems, any big heavyweight problems.
Yeah, I mean, look, both of them would fucking make front page news. But if Usyk were to beat Joshua and beat him up, then I mean, oh gee, don't even give me a heart attack. What are you doing, bro? I don't even want that drama, honestly. But I'm telling you, if Usyk turns up and he starts doing all that movement shit, and that's a problem. I love AJ, but that stuff's a problem. AJ just needs to dent him and dent him quick. I'm not fooled. I mean, like, I love Usyk, but I feel like the UK market, maybe because they saw the way he got rid of Bellew and Gassiev because of the World Boxing Super Series, are overly hyping Usyk. I've watched Usyk recently again. I watched that fight back against Bradis. That was razor thin, and even Hunter caused him some problems as well. So look, he's not unbeatable. But yeah, it would. Oh my god, if AJ was to lose to him, oh my god. All right, let's park that now for a second. Let's move on. There is a big fight this weekend, Fight TV. I'm doing a live watch along for it. Raps, you doing a live watch along for it?
I'm gonna try to. I have to be honest. I will try. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I'm gonna do a live watch along for it as well. It's Josh Taylor versus Jose Ramirez. 2 unbeaten guys, all the marbles, the Ring Magazine belt as well, and the right to say you are the numero uno when it comes to the 140-pound division. And I mean, look, Ramirez is outside of the top 10 in the recognized pound for pound status. Josh Taylor's number 9. But if Ramirez wins, I mean, he's in there. He's a top 10 guy. And Josh Taylor could even climb higher. Josh Taylor could creep into that kind of top 6, top 7 conversation if he beats Ramirez. Like, G-Man, I feel sorry for these guys because this has come slap bang in the middle of Canelo versus Saunders on one side and all this madness of AJ Fury on the other side. Look, the fight was never promoted anyway, but now no one's eyes are on it. It's unfortunate.
It is, and the thing is, this fight has fight of the year candidate written all over it. Both guys like a tear up. Both guys are skillful. Both guys are open to get hit. Both guys are just incredible fighters. I think this is just a fantastic fight, and I think that it's criminal. I think it's criminal as well. Like, Fight TV is a good deal, but that BT or Sky didn't pick this up because it's such a great, like, it's just such a great fight. It really is. I'm struggling to pick a winner in this fight. On my head saying Josh Taylor, my heart saying Jose Ramirez. It really is. I cannot split them. I look at both guys and I just think both guys do so many good things that can counteract the other. Like, Ramirez is a great body puncher, so is Josh Taylor. But Josh Taylor's opened the body punching. And, you know, Ramirez, when he actually lets his right hands go, they're a thing of beauty. Josh Taylor, when he switches it up to mid-range, close range, I'm just thinking this is just going to be great. Like, this is going to be a hell of a fight. And I just, in my head, I'm just like, why isn't, like, Fight TV are doing a good deal on it, but like BT Sports, Sky Sports, like, either one of them could have picked this up, even Box Nation.
I think, yeah. I mean, G-Man, I'm sorry to just come in there, but I think you make a great point, and I think that's the disappointment with we're seeing this too often. Like, some of the classic fights, which us as hardcores, let's say, deem to be classics, we're not getting them on TV. We're having to kind of find a stream, or it's just like it's late notice. There's no promotion. I think this is shocking. I agree with you. I do think this is a classic matchup. 2 great styles. I like Ramirez's ruggedness. You know, I think that whilst he's quite open to be caught, if I'm going to be honest, I think Taylor can be as well. I think body shots, I think, you know, Prograis was able to sort of attack his body quite well. So you wonder, someone like Ramirez, who feels like that's typically his game plan, that's an area he's going to approach. I think for me, I know when you say 50-50, it is 50-50. I am just leaning to Taylor. I've got to say, I think he's got probably just a bit more in his toolbox. I think he can box at range, and I think that should be the tactic he should employ early. I think if you look at the Zebeda fight that Ramirez had, and obviously Antonio Orozco, those fights I felt were very close. I felt that Ramirez made the adjustments too late in the fight, but he did get the decision. So again, home fighter, would that play its ugly head in this fight? Because I feel like the Prograis-Taylor fight, you could argue if that was in the States, would Prograis have got the decision? Yeah. Who knows? So it's like Taylor is in close fights. I expect there to be swing rounds. I just think Taylor can't be on the back foot as much as he was in the Prograis fight for this fight, because I think that will go against him. But I am just leaning to him. I think, you know, he can fight inside quite well. I don't think he's as good as he thinks he is. I've got to be honest. Actually, from distance, I think that's where he can really kind of like just control this fight, control the rhythm, and keep Ramirez at bay.
Yeah, no, look, both of you make some fantastic points. I want to go back to the first point that I think G-Man made about like this not being showed on Sky or BT. I think it's a disgrace, if I'm honest with you. Look, money talks in this world. And look, Sky Sports have just got fucking Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul and Sky Sports box office. How they can't put a bit of money down to get this fight. Yes, they might even take a loss on it, right? Because it's going to happen at 2-3 in the morning. But come on, support boxing, especially in the light of Matchroom saying they're going to leave Sky. This is the thing to say, okay, look, you're leaving, but here we go, bang, have that, guys. You know what I mean? And this is why people used to laugh at Box Nation back in the day. We used to get all these kind of fights on Box Nation. Box Nation would give us these fights, and people used to kind of like laugh at it, like, I ain't paying £10 a month. People would beg for this kind of shit right now. I saw Josh Taylor in the studio when they were doing the Carl Frampton fight against Jamel Herring, and that was on Channel 5. So I thought Channel 5 might pick it up. I thought that was like a little hint to say, okay, Channel 5 are in to Josh Taylor business. I don't know what's going on, but look, I've got the DAZN app on my phone. I've got Premier app. Now I've got Fight TV. I mean, as a boxing fan, it's almost like you got to have 5 or 6 fucking apps. Yeah. And, you know, you're paying. And we say it's only £2 here, £10 there. It adds up.
It adds up.
Honestly, it adds up. And I think it's a bit of a disgrace. I really do. I think Top Rank have done a shambles in promoting this fight. A shambles. Maybe I've missed it, but I haven't even seen any like 24/7 type stuff for both of these fights.
There's 2 episodes. That's the worst thing. There are 2 type of behind the scenes build up, but they've done nothing on their social media to really promote it, Addy.
It's really bad. And look, sometimes you do get fighters, to be fair, that aren't quite good at that promotional stuff anyway. So it doesn't matter how much money you put in front of them. Like Terence Crawford, I love, because every time you see Terence Crawford behind the scenes, he's fantastic. In front of camera, he's awful. Yeah. So it's almost like sometimes, and I know Jose Ramirez is quite like that as well. I think Josh Taylor's got a bit of a personality. So maybe some guys don't want to be pushed forward, but you force it. This is an undisputed unification fight. This is literally 100% number 1 versus number 2. Yeah. For example, you got Caleb Plant, Canelo, September. Some might say that's not number 1 versus number 2 because of Benavidez. This is without a doubt number 1 versus number 2, and it hasn't been pushed. And I feel sorry for both. Like I really do, because I think it deserves a big crowd. It deserves everything it gets, but it hasn't got much. Quickly, going on the fight, I'm with both of you guys. Like, I mean, Ramirez is rugged, and I think you know what we forget about Ramirez, because he is rugged. I think sometimes we forget Ramirez can box. Yeah. Ramirez is a 2012 Olympian. Yeah. I mean, you don't get to the Olympic Games, especially when the American qualifying, unless you can box. So Ramirez, I think, is turned into this rugged scrapper. But Ramirez, when he wants to box and have a look and sit down on his punches, he can do that as well. So stylistically, this is honestly 2 guys that can almost nullify each other. Yeah. This is a really good matchup, and that's why they're unbeaten, right? They've both cleared out the 140-pound division, and that's why they're there. Quick one, G-Man. Who do you think's got the better win?
Taylor over Prograis, definitely. Yeah. I think Regis Prograis would still, if he fought Jose Ramirez, I don't know who I'd pick in that fight.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you put Maurice Hooker in there with Josh Taylor, we'd all pick Josh Taylor. And I look at that Maurice Hooker win, and I see when he fought Ortiz, I think Jose Ramirez done a much better job on Ramirez on Hooker than Ortiz did. But or Virgil did. But no, definitely Regis Prograis, he's a talent. Like even Josh Taylor and Ramirez are 1 and 2, but he is a closer. Like he is seriously talented. So definitely that's a better win.
Absolutely. For me, Ade, so if I can add, I think he's number 3, clearly. Like you said, I think he is good. And I also think if he was to even rematch Taylor in the States, I think some people might even pick, they may not necessarily give the fight to Taylor. So, yeah, I think Taylor has the better win. And even when you look at his CV, I think, is that deceiving us? Or is it really how great he is? Because you look at the amount of undefeated fighters he's beat. He stepped into the World Boxing Super Series. Like he wasn't afraid to challenge himself. And he beat the guys that you kind of thought he might be the underdog. Postal, you know, reputation, although he lost to Crawford. Baranchek, again, tough fight. And he done the job on them. So for me, 100% it is with Taylor in terms of resume.
Yeah, look, you guys are right. I mean, Taylor's resume is crazy. I mean, especially when you go back to the O'Hara Davis fight. I mean, and let's not forget there were some people like, oh, Davis going to give him some problems because Davis is big and strong. G-Man, I didn't want to call you out, but you did say that.
I did
And
say that.
yeah. And I'm thinking the way in which he dealt with him and what he's done since then. I mean, like you say, Baranchik, who was unbeaten, right? Baranchik was unbeaten, IBF champion, dealt with him, right? Tough fight, but dealt with him. Victor Postal, as you say, Raps, just coming off the loss to Crawford, no shame in that, losing to a pound for pounder. And that was a close fight. And I feel like that was the acid test. And then Prograis, who, look, I've spoken to some boxing journalists, and some people say that Prograis won that fight. But the fact is, he's beaten so many unbeaten fighters and guys with only single-digit losses on their record. But there's something about Ramirez where he knows how to gut out a win.
Yeah.
Like Zepeda, I mean, what Zepeda's done to Baranchik, gutted out that win, gutted out the Postal win. So it's almost like both of these guys know how to gut out wins as well, which makes it interesting. What I don't want Josh Taylor to do, and this is the thing with Josh for me, I don't want him to get into a war with Ramirez. Josh Taylor could win this fight on the outside and jab and move. If Josh Taylor thinks he can go to toe, you don't go war to war, toe to toe with Mexicans, you know. Like that's their game. Leave that to them. And I don't want Josh Taylor to do that, especially in America where, look, we know how the judging system works. To be fair, we know how it works over here, but in America, it's even worse. So he's got to be careful that he doesn't get into war with Ramirez. If he does, could be a problem because Ramirez is the finisher.
Yeah. And Josh Taylor is known for having a few times in fights the red missed descending and going toe to toe. So I can see that happening in this fight.
That does worry me. I think you know that's both what you said there, G-Man, about the red miss and the going toe to toe. Addy, I think those are sort of my two concerns. The other area I wanted to ask you guys now is about the corners, Garcia versus Davison. This is sort of Taylor's first fight at this level, working with Davison. Do you think this is going to have any impact? Do you think that could play its part in this fight, given it's the elite level?
You go first, G-Man, if you want.
I would have liked to have seen him have more rounds with Ben Davison because his last fight was his first fight, went around. We never even got to see anything. Yeah. And the thing I find amazing is there's more talk about Ben Davison this week than there is about Josh Taylor because of the Mark Tibbs comments. I've always said, I think Ben Davison is, for his boxing brain is fantastic. He knows what's going on. But it's one thing to look at it on a camera and do it like in a studio. It's another thing to get your fighter into that mold to do what you're telling him. Yeah. And can Ben Davison do that with Josh Taylor? Because bear in mind, he's done it with Billy Joe. He's done it. They're the finished article. You know, Josh Taylor, we just need to see. You could say he's the finished article, but there's still a lot of improvements there.
Yeah, look, I like Ben Davison. I think in terms of a good young upcoming boxing coach, I mean, we've been crying out for sort of young coaches in this country, and he's very good. He's not as good as Shane McGuigan. Let's have it real. Shane McGuigan's, for me, is a very good coach. And I'm a big fan of Shane. Look, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes with financials and things like that, the reason Carl left and Josh left. But in terms, I think even if you were to ask them behind the scenes how good Shane is, I think they would admit it. I've seen improvements with Lawrence already. And at the world level, Shane knows how to handle that. But so does Ben. I mean, let's give Ben some credit for the first Fury fight against Wilder. I mean, listening to how he handled the corner, I was really impressed. Although there were others in that corner as well. Ricky Hatton was in that corner. Freddie Roach was in that corner. Ben was the unexperienced voice leading the corner. So I think he can handle the stress of a big fight. He doesn't get much bigger than Fury Wilder in America. But if we're talking about levels as a coach, then you've got to give it to Garcia. Garcia is levels above, and Garcia's worked with Ramirez as well. Like G-Man said, this is really the first real fight he's having with Josh Taylor. So if it comes down to experience from the corner, then I guess you've got to lean to what Ramirez has got, right? I mean, Ramirez is worked with Garcia for a bit. So I have concerns with Ben Davison. I do. You know, I don't even like the idea of him with Billy Joe and Tibbs. And I'm like, well, you know, my guy Josh is fighting in a couple of weeks. Just focus on Josh. Don't worry about what Billy's doing. Billy's got Mark. They're cool. Focus on Josh. And I don't like the idea of him having to switch off even for a day to work with Billy when you've got Josh in the biggest fight of his life in a couple of weeks. I'm not a fan of that. G-Man, can I quickly ask you why Josh doesn't get the plaudits he deserves? I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm missing something. This is a guy that, you know, this is a guy that has been fighting at world level since his 13th fight. Like world level since his 13th fight, right? He's unbeaten. He's won the World Boxing Super Series. Again, you look at some of the names on the resume. Let's look at the big ones, though. Baranchik, Prograis, Victor Postal. And I feel like over here, and I mean over here as in the UK, I feel like no one speaks about him. Like this guy, no one speaks about him. Yet he is, really and truly, again, you look at the resume and who he's fought, he should be right up there. We should be talking about him like we talk about AJ Fury and like we were talking about Billy Joe. I even feel like people talk about Josh Warrington when he had the world title more than Taylor.
I don't understand it because ever since the first time I watched Josh Taylor, first time I ever watched him was on Channel 5 when he fought Dave Ryan, and you could tell then you had a talent in front of you, you had a special talent there. And for him to win the World Boxing Super Series, have that domestic dust up with O'Hara Davis, which I think if that had been on Sky, might have done it because remember that was on Channel 5.
Is that the issue, by the way? Is it the issue that he's not signed with Matchroom and Sky?
I think so. I think when he was with Cyclone, Barry McGuigan was doing a good job, but it was on Channel 5 with next to no promotion. Like O'Hara Davis really did sell that Taylor fight, if you think about it. He was the one talking and,
they asked him to, didn't they? Sell it. Yeah, we're paying you to sell the fucking fight.
I think that he's not been on the major platforms enough. So he's fighting on Channel 5. When they did have him on Sky, like that whole Prograis fight, if you remember, the build-up was more about Chisora Parker. Yeah. They were stealing that show. And when he fought Price, a lot of people left the arena, before the main event. So I think it's more promotional what's wrong with Josh Taylor, because as a fighter, he's probably the best. In my opinion, he's the best in Britain. He is so talented. Pound for pound, definitely, he's a joy to watch. I love watching Josh Taylor. And he's a cool guy as well. Like, he's not like someone who you could say, oh, he's a Marmite character. He seems like an absolute genuinely good guy. So I don't see what the problem. I think it's just promotional. I think that he's just been not handled the right way. You hear more about Lewis Ritson than you would about Josh Taylor in some ways, because he's just been brought up, by Sky. He's all over Sunderland and Newcastle, places like that. I think that Josh Taylor needed that from the start. And Cyclone, say whatever you want, they just didn't have the major platforms to put him on.
Imagine if he was with Eddie Raps. Just look, and we always get excited about Eddie. I maybe go over the top with Eddie, right? Just because I feel like Eddie could sell sand to the Arabs. I really do think he could do that. Imagine if he had Josh, though, the way he would be talking about Josh right now. Honestly, going up to this fight, the way he'd be talking, all the promotion, everything would just be such a bigger level than it is now. And I think Josh would be that superstar because Josh wants to talk as well. Josh is not afraid of the cameras, right? He's not going to say silly things like Billy Joe or get in front of the cameras, talk, sell himself. He's a completely different person as to what he was in the lead up to the O'Hara Davis fight, where I thought he was almost shy and timid. Now he's super confident. He knows he's the best in the world at his weight division. He knows he's unbeaten. He knows he's got a couple of belts. And I think Eddie would work perfectly with him. Right now he's with Bob. And look, I love Bob. Bob's 90. Bob can't promote him. He can't at all. Bob couldn't promote Terrence. Bob can't promote anyone at top rank right now.
Bro, don't get me started. But I mean, to that point, I think I want to say I do agree with G-Man as well. In terms of the promotion, like if it was Eddie Hearn, I think the fact that nobody's spoken this week. The fact that Josh Taylor and Ramirez were both in London 2012 Olympics. Okay, they got knocked out, but they both fought there. That's a bit of a backstory to say that. Okay, they didn't win gold, they didn't medal, but now they're fighting for the undisputed. Nobody's talking about that, and I feel like Hearn or Matchroom, rightly or wrongly, they will kind of make a backstory about their fighter and then push that to the fore. With Taylor as well, one of the things I'll say about him is, you said that word Marmite. I feel like it's like there's nothing to love or nothing to hate about him though either. It's like
James DeGill.
He's middle of the road.
Yeah, it's almost like James DeGill was like, I don't really like you, but I don't hate you. And that's the problem. Like Eubank, people hate Eubank. So because of that, you tune in. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, Prince Nassim Hamed, people wanted to see him get knocked out. Yeah. So it was almost like, okay, you're tuning in regardless. With Josh, it's almost like, I don't hate you, I don't like you, so I'm not going to tune in. If you win, you win, and that's it. And that's a big problem.
Yeah, because what he's achieved, to be fair, I think I can't even really compare it to a fighter on these British shores that's gone undefeated fighter, picked up the belts to an undisputed in less than 20 fights?
You know what, is the problem that, and look, as a hardcore boxing fans, like we all obviously are, like we appreciate the names on the resume for both, right? You look at what Ramirez has done and you look at what Josh Taylor's done. Is the problem that there is no big name at 140 pounds, like star, like a Broner, where you check in, and it might not be a big win for hardcore fans, but it brings eyes on the sport. You know, you look at him, Prograis doesn't sell much. He's not that guy. And not Baranchik obviously is not a guy because of European fighter. He's not that guy. Postal European fighter. You know, maybe that's the issue as well, that there is no superstar name at 140. Crawford had exactly the same problem. Look at who Crawford would be at 140, and you look at it and think, okay, Postal and Indongo. Do you know what I mean? It's like those aren't names that are going to move the needle. And I feel like Josh Taylor and Ramirez are struggling from that as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's a very valid point.
And maybe that's the issue. The winner, before we talk about predictions, does the winner immediately go to 147 and try and do something there? Does the winner stick around for a Prograis fight? I guess if it's Ramirez, yes. Josh Taylor, no, he's already done that. Does Josh go to 147 if he wins? G-Man?
If it's competitive, they might do a rematch. You know, if it's a really good fight, it's a really great fight, they might do a rematch. But I think if Josh Taylor wins, I would imagine that next step for him will be 147. Because at the end of the day, you've probably beaten the two best guys in that division. Yeah. You know, Jose Zepeda is there, but for the most part, you've beaten the two best guys. Yeah. You've undisputed. You won the World Boxing Super Series. Welterweight seems the logical next step. And I'd imagine that's what Josh Taylor would do. Because as we say, we know there's good fighters in that division, but there's a difference between a good fighter and a big name. Yeah. And they're just not big names. If Josh Taylor really wants to progress, if he goes to 147, you know, has a couple of fights and then finds himself in there with an Errol Spence, Sean Porter, Conor Benn at domestic level, if he ends up doing something, that just makes more sense to me. From just the career progression, financial promotion point of view, I'd say 147.
You know, the strange thing is, sorry, I cut you there, Jimmy. You know, the strange thing is, Raps, about Josh Taylor at 147. I look at, and normally a guy coming up from 140 that's cleaned up, if he's going to 147, you're like, oh, you're excited, like, oh, I can't wait to see it. I don't have that feeling with Josh for some reason. Like, when I think of Josh versus Crawford or Errol, I don't even, like, nothing. I don't know what it is, and I don't know if that's a problem, but I don't like get excited. Oh my God, Josh at 147. I don't have that, and I should have that. I should have that about a guy that cleans up, like the way Usyk cleaned up at cruiserweight. Like, oh, Usyk at heavy is going to be a pro. For some reason, I do not have that same feeling at Josh. Maybe it's because deep down, I don't think Josh can touch Crawford or Spence. I just don't think so for some reason. I don't know what. I don't know why. What I would prefer, and this is my crazy thing, I would prefer Josh to stay at 140 and Teofimo Lopez to come up and fight Josh. Now that excites me because I know Teo's struggling at 135. That's a fight that moves the needle for Josh. Josh versus Teofimo Lopez in America. If he wants to get a superstar name, there you have it, superstar name.
Yeah, no, I mean, I make you right there at the end. Even with Usyk, I've got to say, even him moving to heavyweight, I wasn't excited about. I don't know if it's that thing of what you're saying is, I just don't necessarily see them competing at the top level with the top 2 or 3 guys. It makes sense for him to go to welterweight, though. You know, you've unified the division, you've beaten everybody. Go up. I think Crawford's probably the best option because, again, Crawford's coming. You know, he's made the weight in terms of rising through the divisions, and I think that would be a good contest. I know what you're saying about probably he wouldn't beat him, but I think that would be a competitive fight, in my opinion, more so than Errol Spence Jr. Even maybe a Sean Porter, strangely, but. Yeah, I think staying at 140, the other name I'd like to see, if he does well against Mario Barrios, is Tank Davis. I think that would be a name again.
Tank did call him out about a year ago. Tank mentioned him about a year ago after the Prograis fight.
Yeah, so if he can stay at 140, if he does a number on Mario Barrios, which is not an easy fight, and he says he might fight at 140 a bit more, I think that's a fight to make. Why wouldn't you fight him? I think that's a huge name, pay-per-view, and yeah, you've probably got. Has he got a beating of him? Probably just. He's just got to watch out for the power.
Yeah, and and I almost feel like Josh could turn into Amir Khan again. Let's be honest, Amir Khan had his best fights at 140 in America, right? Yeah. That's where Amir Khan was based. You think of all those fights against Zab and Danny Garcia and Lamont Peters. All those fights were in America, and I feel like Josh, as much as I know he wants to fill out an arena in Edinburgh and he keeps on talking about it, maybe he makes his name in America and the Americans appreciate it more than we do over here. Because again, I feel there is a lack of an appreciation. But look, you guys mentioned some good names there. Gervonta Davis at 140 is good. Again, for me, I say it, Teofimo is electric at 140. That fight at 140 is electric. If I'm him, though, I call, as soon as I finish the fight against Ramirez, if he does win, I call out Broner. just because AB's there and it's easy work as far as I'm concerned. Right now, AB's done. It gives AB though a chance to win all the belts at 140, all the marbles, become that guy he thinks he is again, and it puts Josh Taylor's name on the map in America more than most fights. AB's just that guy that will promote the fight himself. Almost, Josh Taylor doesn't need to say anything. AB will diss him. AB will bring up his mom, his dad, everything, and it will sell the fight. G-Man, if you are going to pick a name for him next, and look, we're not looking past Ramirez, but if you do pick a name, who?
In terms of just entertainment-wise, in terms of the fight competitive, Teofimo. In terms of just a name, you got to be Broner. I mean, like the Broner would, and it's an easy fight because Broner's on his way out.
Yeah.
That he would sell the hell out of that fight.
Yes,
that would
absolutely.
Be just that'd be funny.
And let's not forget now as well. I mean, look, Josh will take less of the money. I think Josh understands that, but Josh will be something. This is the guy that would have every single belt plus the Ring Magazine belt, and like I said, it will be a pound for pound of top 5 or 6. He is now the hunted. People should look at that and think. And if you look at Josh, like Josh does everything at a 7 or 8 out of 10, right? I mean, there's nothing that's a 10 for me. And this is not disrespect to him. Like, I don't think he's got 10 power. I don't think he's got 10 speed. I don't think he's got 10 inside game. I don't think he's got 10 boxing at range, but he's a good 7 or 8 or anything. So if I am a Tank or a Teofimo, I'm looking at him thinking, I've got a chance of that guy. Obviously, when you get in there, it's a different whole kettle of fish. But from the outside looking in, you think, wait a minute, he's kind of there for the taking. G-Man, what about you?
I'm naming. So, and I know this might be even more random. It's Mikey Garcia. He's still a bit of I feel like that. I feel like if he could really make the weight, that could be a very competitive fight.
That is a fucking great shout. I don't know why I've completely forgot about Mikey. Like, it's just for some reason I've completely forgot about him.
Yeah. Same here. That name just when Raps mentioned, I was like, my head just started spinning down. I was like, Mikey, yes, exactly.
Mikey Goss name, like handled Broner.
Yeah.
Yes, got beat by Errol, but went the distance. Took the licks, but went the distance. Former pound for pounder. What is he? 3-4-8 world champion.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean that sounds great. Known to the American market, I like it.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's a great shout. G-Man, can you see him? I mentioned Josh sort of maybe not competing with the guys at 147. Am I too harsh? I mean, I think he can compete against the likes of Danny Garcia. I do, but against Errol and Terrence, I just can't see it.
We need to see what the landscape of welterweight will look in the future. But like that, like him against Danny, him against Ugas. Yeah, I think that they're fine. Ugas is good, but I think Josh Taylor might have to beaten. But Errol Spence and Terence Crawford would be competitive, but I still think Terence will win. But Errol is just, I mean, Errol survived that car crash and came back looking like nothing happened. He's huge. I can't say it. I think
it's funny you guys have Errol over Terence like that in terms of competing against Josh. When I watch Terence, I just feel like I'm watching someone that just goes through the gear so quickly. Like when I watched him against Kel, I'm a Kel fan. I was just watching him literally just go through the gears like, and he went to gear 4, and Kel was like, "What the fuck is this?" And it's like he looks beatable. Like even Canelo, when Canelo was asked, "Who's your pound for pounder?" Canelo said, "Apart from me, Terence." So it's almost like fighters look at Terence and think, "Jesus," like there's something special about him. But we as fans look at him and think, "Yeah, what's he doing?" But fighters have a different look at him. As soon as Canelo said that, I was like, "Yeah, Terence is the real deal." For Canelo to say that, and I don't know if they've got a relationship, I don't know if they sparred or anything. That's when you kind of know he's a bit special. All right, guys, let's give predictions. What are we thinking? Rounds, win, stoppage. Raps, I'll start with you. What are you thinking?
So what a very, very tough one. I'm thinking Taylor nicks it on points. I think it is going to be very close. The judges is something that we have to worry about, but I think that he should be able to do the cleaner work, especially at the start of the fight. I say predicting, but I'm thinking he'll start the fight well. He will get a lot of rounds in the bag, and I think then Ramirez will make some adjustments. Middle rounds, it will be close, couple swing rounds, but I think throughout sort of like the championship rounds, I just see Taylor pulling away, and I think he'll get a points decision.
G-Man?
I'm going Taylor split decision.
I love this. This is how close we think it is.
I can't see either guy having an easy win or having a dominant win. This is going to be, whoever wins this is going to go through hell. I think it's going to be split.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think split decision, Taylor, just. And when I say just, I mean like Rizzler paper thin. I see him starting well, and I can see him putting 6 in the bank, like, you know, competitive rounds. But if you're scoring, you're thinking, and then I can see Ramirez coming on strong. I mean, I remember watching Taylor against Postal, and he struggled in those later rounds. You know, the gas tank ran out empty very quick. Progray, but again, later rounds, the gas tank. That's not saying that he doesn't live the life and he hasn't got. Sometimes when someone boxing isn't easy, it's just not that easy. And I see Ramirez coming on strong. And look, I don't know if there are any fans there. I'm not quite sure. Is it? It's not behind closed doors, is it?
I don't think so. I think they have. I think there's small fans.
Small
fans. So if it's 4,000, it's gonna be 4,000 Mexicans.
Yeah,
and I mean I mean those will get Ramirez through those later rounds. So like I'm going split Taylor, but he's gonna have to come through something nasty, and that's what it should be. Raps. If you're talking undisputed unification, this shouldn't be easy.
Yeah,
any undisputed fight is easy. Then we have to what's going on in boxing. Exactly. If you want all the fucking belts around your waist, if you want that perfect photo that we've seen Hopkins and Roy Jones have and Terence Crawford have, then it's got to be hard work.
Yeah, Andre Ward. You look at
Andre Ward.
Fight, you know, I agree with you.
Yeah, exactly. Look at Andre Ward, the Kovalev had to get up from that knockdown.
Really blood. Grit through the rounds. Yeah, and I think it will be split. I will agree. I do agree with you guys, but I think he will just edge it on points. Yeah, it's going to be tough. I do not think this is going to be light work. One of the things I'm kind of happy about is, and maybe I don't know if you guys are seeing this, we're not seeing like this big hype train for Taylor, which I'm kind of happy about in a way. You know, people are just being a bit more measured with their approach in terms of giving Ramirez his respect. Whilst he doesn't have any standout names, I think people respect what he brings to the ring. You know, ruggedness, like he's got the, I would say, stamina. So yeah.
What I want as well, it's interesting you say that about the hype train, which is good. I think sort of less is more. And what I do want him to do is put on a performance for our UK kind of boxers, right? I mean, because we've gone over there to America, we sent boxers over there, and apart from Fury, we've been smashed to pieces. I mean, they're just ending us, and like, is that all you guys are over here? What's this? So
UK versus think, Mexico.
Yeah, you know. So I think it's important that one of our fighters go over there and does a job, even if he loses, which I don't think he will. Just look good, look really good. Because we were really getting excited about Saunders. You know, I mean, I still thought Canelo was going to win, and he is the pound for pounder, but we're getting excited about Saunders, like, and he got smashed. Let's be honest.
Even
Liam Williams,
Smith, people were getting excited.
Smith, oh my god, Callum Smith barely won a round, barely won a minute, and it was unbeaten, ring recognized #1. Josh Warrington getting flattened over here recently. Do you know what I mean? Josh Kelly getting flattened over here recently. Liam Williams, fair dues, it was against Andrade, but him losing. So we know AJ going back to the Ruiz fight getting smashed. So I think we do need a Brit to put on a good performance to show that there are some good fighters out here. Some good, you know, guys. Just before you go, any other fights you're looking forward to in the next sort of 6-7 months? Nothing really announced big, but anything that's caught your eye? Raps?
I will say the Tank versus Mario Barrios. That for me is interesting. I mentioned it. I just think him coming up to 140. I want to see what his physique looks like, because I feel like that's the weight he's going to stay at.
You don't think he goes that to 135?
I don't know. I think it's hard for him. I really do think that, like, making weight, maybe 135, but I think he's not going lower than that. And I feel like 140 might be the right division, because, you know, you spoke earlier and said there's not a plethora of names, not a big amount of names there. You know, potentially, you know, you look at Taylor, he wins this. If he doesn't fight Tank, he might vacate and go up to 147. So if he wins, so I feel like he could stay at 140. So I'm looking forward to that, because I think Barrios is a good fighter. I think he's underrated, and it's going to be a tough ask for Tank.
G-Man?
Like Raps, looking forward to seeing Tank against Barrios, more so to see what Tank looks like. Barrios is not a big 140-pounder, so we'll need to see kind of how he looks. But one fight that I haven't heard mentioned that I can't wait for is actually the following week, which is Nonito Donaire versus Nordine O'Bally. I can't wait for that fight. That is going to be a hell of a fight.
Dude,
I can't wait for that fight.
I'm sure Donaire retired 2 months ago. I 100% saw a retirement something.
That was I actually know IBT. good little YouTuber. He released that on April Fool's Day, and that thing went viral. And then he took it there, even acknowledged it.
What a fucker! I tell you what fight I'm looking forward to, and that's Devin Haney, Jorge Linares. Now, look, I think Linares, obviously, look, this isn't the same Linares that fought Loma, but I think this Linares for 6 rounds is super sharp. Linares is one of the crisper, like his punches are so crisp, technically he's so good, and I've still got big question marks over Devin Haney. I mean, I've got question marks over a guy that's a world champion that hasn't fought anyone. I didn't think he looked good against Gamboa, if I'm honest with you. I mean, we are talking about a 40-year-old Gamboa as well. So I want to see what he can do against Linares. I think Linares is going to cause him some problems and ask him some questions. And I want to see how he answers those questions. Do I expect him to get through the heat? Yeah, I do. But how does he get through it? Does he make a statement like Ryan did over Luke? And we saw Ryan go through the fire with Luke, right? Got put down, came up and just ran through Luke, if I'm honest with you. So we've seen all these guys all these kind of guys in and around make a statement at 135, right? We've seen Teofimo make a statement against the great Loma. And we've even seen, like you say, Gervonta Davis go down to 130 and make a huge statement against Leo Santa Cruz. So all those kind of guys that we hope are the next generation that are going to fight each other have made statements apart from Devin. Devon's got to make a statement because they've all made it now. And I expect Devon to put on a clinic, but I expect him to have to go through some fire against Jorge Linares because this is Linares' last shot at any type of gold. So that's a fight I'm really interested in as well. Yeah. Very, very much interested. Guys, that's it. We've given it the dues it deserves. I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean? Honestly, we've given it the dues it deserves because it is a great fight. Josh Taylor Ramirez, and it is one for the hardcores. Maybe not the casuals are not very interested in it. But I like the fight, and I wish Josh Taylor success in it. But I'm going to echo what G-Man said at the start. This could be fight of the year. Yeah. This could be fight of the year. When you got two guys that are unbeaten, don't know how to lose, have gone through semi-adversity in their fights, have had to dig deep, both under top rank. Woo! This is something. Yeah. This is something. Guys, don't forget, subscribe to the channels, G-Man, Boxing and Raps on TV. Their links are in the description. Both of them do really good stuff. G-Man does his lives every weekend, every Sunday, right, G-Man?
Pretty much every Sunday.
Pretty much every Sunday.
Pretty much before you.
Yeah, I copied you. I can't lie to you. So G-Man does his lives every single Sunday around 7:30, right? 7:30?
7:30, yeah, always. Every
Raps,
Sunday
when do you do your lives as well, Raps?
You do we do on Tuesday, just before you, 7:30 on every Tuesday.
And look, I love the lives because it's a good way to get people interacting as well. Absolutely. Like, don't get me wrong, I love doing the videos with the quick, sharp videos to the camera, but I love the lives that you get people interacting, get involved. And I think the bigger that we can grow this boxing market with, getting the casuals involved, the bigger our channels and boxing can grow. Absolutely. So I think it's important that we continue to do the things. Guys,
thank you very much for having us, bro. I'm sure, like G-Man would say this, like, it's always an honor to be on a platform like yours, bro. You've got a great audience, loving your live stream. So yeah, definitely appreciate you inviting me to join tonight.
I echo that statement. It's brilliant to be on. It's great to be on Raps as well. So
yeah.
Hey guys, it's great to have you both on. Honestly, it's great to have you both on, man, because fuck me, I'm tired of talking to myself.